Hey gang, Mark Sweeney here from Austin Dental Spa in beautiful, warm Austin, Texas. Unless you've been living under a rock, I know that you've heard of these anti-diabetic medications, Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, I think is a new one. They're all over the place. They're all over the news and about rapid weight loss and reducing the inflammation from type 2 diabetes. But there's some recent studies, and I mean really recent, like this just came out in July of this year, that shows that they might have a positive effect on brain function. And so before we get into that, I wanted to back up a little bit right where the photographer started, or videographer started off with. We're in our last week of August. I cannot believe summer has just whizzed by, but we're in the last week of August, and if you've tuned in before to these Wisdom Wednesdays, you know that we have a different theme every month, and the theme for this month has been A+ August. And it was kind of a play on the fact that schools are starting back and kids are focused on grades again. But it also was a chance to do a little double entendre and say, hey, it's a chance for us to talk to you about having an A+ lifestyle so that you can benefit from the things that we talked about all month. If you have interest in any of that, we have them cataloged on YouTube, on our Austin Dental Spa YouTube channel, and I believe we've also got them on our Facebook page so that you can go back and see what you missed if you've missed some episodes. We had some really good stuff, and in several instances over the summer, we scooped the national news. We were talking about new studies that had come out that were so new, it was a week or two later before I saw it on the national news, and I said, we just talked about that on Wisdom Wednesday. Like our AI one last week was really good, and I didn't see that for at least another week. So we're going to do the same thing again today, because we're going to talk about a study that was just released in July last month, and it's my kind of study because it studied 60,000 people, and I like the ones that have thousands of people rather than a couple of dozen people. They studied people, adults age 40 and over, and they studied them for 7 years. That's another one of my kind of study, instead of something that only lasted a week or so, or 3 weeks. Some of our previous studies have been. This is 60,000 people over a 7-year period. Now, how did they do that? Well, they've got this national data bank that keeps up with all these lab results and medical records called the TriNet X US network. So that's how they gained access to this. And the study ran from 2017 through the pandemic and ended in 2024. So this is like really hot off the presses, recent stuff. 60,000 people I go back to, that's a huge sampling. And what they did is they studied people that were taking these anti-diabetic drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy, and they had because it was 60,000 people, they had people over 40 who were not taking those. And what they found is there was a significantly lower chance of developing neurodegenerative diseases, because again, they did this over a 7-year period, like dementia, cerebrovascular diseases like strokes and aneurysms, all those kind of things, Parkinson's. So they studied those, and they found that there was a significant decrease in those. Now, I've got good news and bad news for you about that. The good news out of this study is the people who they noticed this reduction in neurodegenerative diseases were all over the age of 60 or even older. They were mostly skewed towards women, and they were skewed towards those who had a body mass index of 30 or 40, which means you're borderline obese. So if you're plus size, if you're over 60, and if you're female, this is a study that has some significance for you. Because they've also found that of all the people who are diabetic, in the United States at least. 63% are also obese. And so by medical definition of obese. And so obesity and diabetics have also been known to have more chronic inflammation, more insulin resistance, and more antioxidative stress. So all of which are bad for your circulation, for your cardiovascular system. So these drugs that came out to reduce weight have also had this unexpected effect on the brain. Now, the bad news, I said the good news is it's people over 60, skewed towards women, and people who are borderline obese, or more so, 30 to 40 body mass index. So the downside is they put people into 3 different groups for cardiovascular, for dementia outcomes. They said it's either Alzheimer's, vascular dementia, which means it's inflammation of the blood vessels in the brain, or a third category that they just called other, because there were too many other variables. So it was Alzheimer's, vascular disease, or other. The only group of those 3 that they found a significant reduction that we talked about earlier with these anti-diabetic drugs was in the other category. It didn't have any effect on people with Parkinson's disease. It did not have any noticeable effect that they could find clinically significant in people with Alzheimer's. So there's some more research to do on that. So the final takeaway is, don't overgeneralize when you see these studies within the next couple of weeks. And the headline is that Ozempic has been shown to keep you from getting Alzheimer's. That's a little bit of an overgeneralization, because they didn't read the fine print at the end of the study that it doesn't really decrease your chances of Alzheimer's. So there's the good news and the bad news. You're going to see more of this stuff, and they're still doing more and more studies on what are some of the other side effects of these drugs that came out for one reason and have this unexpected positive side effect. If you've tuned in before, I always end with a health tip. This one's going to be a pretty good one. For some of you, it's going to be music to your ears, and that's a little play on words because it's not really music. We're going to talk about podcasts and 4 different ways that podcasts can improve your life. And this research has borne this out. Just like listening to music, which is what I do when I want to relax, calm down a Saturday afternoon and I'm just chilling and don't have the TV on, I listen to music. Podcasts are like all the rage. People talk about them all the time. A lot of people listen to them on their way to work and home. I've got people who put their headphones on at lunchtime and listen to podcasts. So, and patients that come in and listen to podcasts while we're doing their dental work. So here's the 4. There's mental health benefits. Just like listening to music, it can be soothing. It can kind of calm your mind because somebody else is doing the talking and thinking, and all you have to do is actively listen, which segues to the next one. Number 2, it can improve your listening skills because you can't be thinking about something else like I do when I'm driving to work and somebody says, "Did you notice that wreck on Mopac?" And I'm like, "What wreck?" I was thinking about how the rest of the day is going to go. So with a podcast, since it's all audio, you've got to be paying attention to it in order for it to really soak in. Number 3, gives you opportunities, obviously, to improve your knowledge and explore new interests. Why would you listen to a podcast if it's something that you're not even interested in? And so some of that is subjective. You're going to pick things that you already have an interest in. And number 4, it's community building, because a lot of these podcasts, they give you the contact information for the person who's giving the podcast. Some of them are a lot of people all together so that they can ask questions and do things. So it can be somewhat collaborative, and birds of a feather flock together. So, you know, that old saying. So people that are all listening to the same podcast, like Joe Rogan, who lives here in Austin most of the time now, has made his name in the world with the podcasts, mostly far right kind of stuff, but he's a big sensation, and it all started with a weekly podcast that he does on controversial subjects. Alex Jones, same thing. So podcasts can be a very powerful way to get known out there in the world. So there's 4 benefits of listening to podcasts. So try it out this week. It's pretty interesting stuff. I hope you'll have a great rest of the month of August, and we will see you next week to introduce the theme for the month of September and to make an announcement that'll go along with that theme that I think you'll want to tune in and hear what we got to say. I'll see you next week.